Catholic, Orthodox, Protestant. You've heard the names, right? But what is the actual difference between them? Well, we're about to jump into one of the biggest, most fascinating splits in all of world religion. And trust me, the story behind it is incredible. So, what really separates these three huge branches of Christianity? Is it all just about the Pope, or is there more to it? This is a question that stretches back nearly 2,000 years, and the answers are found in everything from history and leadership to the art and music you experience in their churches. And hey, this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. We're talking about the faith of more than 2.5 billion people living today. As you can see, Catholicism is by far the largest group. Then you have the super diverse world of Protestantism and the ancient traditions of the Orthodox Church. So if you really want to understand our world, you kind of have to understand this story. All right, to get to the heart of it, we have to rewind the clock a bit. These three paths didn't just pop up out of nowhere. No way. They were carved out over centuries of intense debate, serious politics, and just some really profound disagreements on the right way to live out the faith. Okay, so check this out. This timeline shows us the two critical breaking points. For about the first 1,000 years, Christianity was, more or less, one unified church. Then, bam, in 1054 you get the Great Schism. The church cracks right in two, splitting between the Latin-speaking West, centered in Rome, and the Greek-speaking East in Constantinople. Fast forward about 500 years, and the Protestant Reformation absolutely shatters the Western church all over again. And that's how we get the three major branches we have today. So that's the history, but how does all that show up today? Well, the easiest way to start getting a feel for it is with the stuff you can actually see and hear. The symbols, the church buildings, and the styles of worship. Let's start with the most famous symbol of Christianity, the cross. Now, what's so interesting here is that this isn't just an artistic choice, there's deep meaning behind it. The Catholic crucifix, which shows Jesus' body, really keeps the focus on the incredible sacrifice he made. But the empty cross, which is what you'll usually see in Protestant and Orthodox churches, is all about celebrating the victory over death, the resurrection. Two versions of the same symbol, each telling a slightly different part of the story. And this different focus carries right on over into the church buildings themselves. For Catholics and the Orthodox, a church is meant to be a sacred space, like a little slice of heaven right here on earth. The incredible art, the icons, the statues, the breathtaking architecture, it's all designed to make you feel a sense of awe. But many Protestants had a reaction against that. For them, a church is mainly a place for the community to gather, so they often prefer a simpler, more modest design to keep everyone's focus on the Bible and the sermon without a lot of visual distractions. And you can literally hear the difference, too. Step into an Orthodox service and you might hear these ancient, hauntingly beautiful chants, all sung a cappella. Catholic worship, on the other hand, gave us centuries of magnificent classical music with soaring organs and choirs. And then you have many Protestant churches which have really embraced contemporary music, with bands that sound like they could be on the radio, all to help people feel a more personal, emotional connection. Okay, so the look and the feel of the churches, that's one thing. But now we get to the absolute core of the division. The single biggest reason for these splits really boils down to one fundamental question: who or what gets the final say? So before we can go any further, we have to wrap our heads around this huge concept, apostolic succession. It's the belief, held by both Catholics and Orthodox Christians, that Jesus gave his original apostles a special authority, and that this authority has been passed down like a baton in a relay race, from bishop to bishop, in an unbroken line for 2,000 years. This idea is the absolute bedrock of their leadership. And this is where that idea of succession just blows things wide open. Let's just focus on the Pope for a second. For the Orthodox, he's respected as the first among equals, kind of like an honorary chairman, but he has no real power over their churches. For Catholics, though, whoa, he's the vicar of Christ on earth, with supreme binding authority over the entire church. And when he speaks officially on matters of faith, that teaching is considered infallible, meaning it's without error. And then you have the Protestants, who completely reject the Pope's authority. For them, the only thing that's infallible is the Bible itself. And that leads us right into the next huge divide. For the Orthodox and Catholics, authority is kind of like a two-legged stool. You have the Bible, which is Holy Scripture, and you have sacred tradition, which includes the teachings passed down through that line of apostles. But for Protestants, it's all about one thing, sola scriptura, which is Latin for Scripture alone. The Bible is the ultimate and final authority, and every other teaching or tradition has to be measured against it. Okay, so we've got these big top-level ideas about authority, But how does that actually trickle down and affect what people believe and do every day? Well, it directly shapes how each branch handles key rituals and beliefs, from communion all the way to the role of Mary. Let's just take the Eucharist, or what many call Holy Communion. Both Orthodox and Catholics believe that the bread and wine literally become the body and blood of Christ. Seriously. The Orthodox refer to it as a divine mystery, while Catholics use a very specific theological term, transubstantiation. Most Protestants, however, see it differently. For them, it's an incredibly powerful symbol, a way to remember Christ's sacrifice, but not a literal physical transformation. This chart shows another huge practical difference, just how many of these core sacred rituals there are. Catholics have 7 of them, called sacraments, which they believe are channels of God's grace. The Orthodox also have at least 7, which they call mysteries. But Protestants, sticking to that scripture alone principle, generally only recognize 2, baptism and communion. And why just 2? Because those are the only ones they see Jesus explicitly commanding his followers to do in the Bible. The role of Mary is another key point of divergence. Both the Orthodox and Catholics hold her in extremely high regard. They call her the Theotokos, or God-bearer, and believe she was ever virgin. Catholics then go a bit further, with official doctrines like the Immaculate Conception and the Assumption. Protestants, on the other hand, while they deeply respect Mary as a holy woman and the mother of Jesus, tend to reject any teachings about her that aren't found directly in the Bible. Now, what about the big one, salvation? You often hear Protestants talk about being saved by faith alone, but this quote here gets at a really important, more nuanced idea. While they do believe that faith is the only thing that saves a person, they also believe that if that faith is real, it's never going to be alone. It will naturally lead to a changed life and good works. So at the end of the day, while their starting points might be different, all 3 branches agree that a true, genuine faith will always show itself in how you live your life. Whew. Okay, we have spent a lot of time looking at the divisions, and it can start to feel like these groups have nothing in common. But it is so important to remember that all 3 of these branches grew from the exact same trunk. And despite all their differences, the very bedrock of their faith is built on a shared foundation. And this right here, this is that common ground. This is the absolute core of historical Christianity. And all 3 branches believe these things with total conviction. They all believe in the Trinity, one God in 3 persons. They all believe that Jesus is the Son of God and fully human. They all believe he physically rose from the dead. And they all believe salvation is found through him. These are the non-negotiables that truly unite them. So that leaves us with this final, massive question to chew on. For centuries, the differences we've talked about have built walls and even caused terrible conflict. But when you weigh all that against the profound, core beliefs they all share in one Christ, you just have to wonder, what's the future for this divided family? It's something worth thinking about. Thanks for watching.